I'm Laura. I work across the street at a grocery store. I sit at the front desk, and there was a huge dog corral outside, and sometimes there's like a lot of barking depending on the dogs outside. And this day there's a lot of barking, and then suddenly there's like a lot of barking. It sounded like there was like a wild pack of dogs that was going to like loot the co-op or something. So I walked outside, and I looked at the dog corral, and all the dogs in the corral weren't making any noise. They were really confused, and they were like looking around, and then I looked up, and all of the people on the street had like slowed down and were kind of curiously looking around because there was a lot of barking, but it wasn't coming out of the mouths of the dogs. The barking kept going for a while, and then it just totally went silent for a moment, and then there was a and it was like an undeniable elephant noise, and it kept going, and I was like, this is getting so fucking annoying. And I went outside to check what had happened, and I was looking around, and I saw like across the street on the first floor window, an apartment window had been cracked, and there was like the head of a megaphone and like these black horn rim glasses and a nose like peeking out. And I was like, motherfucking Derek Erdman is trolling the neighborhood with what then at that point was a sheep noise.
Hello?
Hello, Mike.
Yes, speaking.
This is Rap Master Maurice. It's come to my attention that you're working on a project with a friend and not really holding up your end of the bargain, so I made a rap about it. Well, my name's Maurice, I don't tell no...
Beverly Records.
Hi, do you carry any money?
Pardon me?
Do you have any money?
Eddie Money?
Any money?
Huh?
Do you have any money?
Any money?
Eddie money.
Any.
Eddie money.
Eddie Money, yeah.
You have any money?
Yeah.
How much money do you have?
Eddie Money, you're talking about the artist?
Eddie money.
Yeah.
Do you sell free jazz?
Who?
Free jazz.
Free Jazz.
Hello? Do you sell...
Hello?
You calling about the free psychic hotline?
No.
What time is it? 6 a.m.?
Dusty Groove.
Hi, you specialize in rare and hard-to-find records, correct?
That's true.
Do you sell any records that have never been in print? Like records that have never been made?
No. Like, I mean, what in specific are you looking for?
Let's say, for instance, an artist such as Sergio Mendes
Uh-huh.
thought about making a record but never made it. Would you carry that? Also,
I don't think so.
do you have any titles from the future?
Wait, I see a lot of money in your future.
Like what?
I see a lot of money in your future.
See a lot of money?
Yes. You're going to win the lottery.
You bullshit, man.
It's going to be a scratch ticket.
So what did you think of him? What was your first impression if that was your first interaction?
I thought he was a dick. I thought he had this huge chip on his shoulder. I was like, just...
He's very warm. He's very witty.
I thought he was very pleasant.
First met Derek about a year before he started in his old gallery space called Derek Erdman's International House of Paintings.
What did you think of Derek when you first met him?
Oh my God, I thought he was adorable.
He is an OE, which is what I was called. I was like, oh yeah, he's an OG, but he is an OE. He's just original, like Erdman.
I met Derek in 2006. Which was Sub Pop's first year at the Pitchfork Music Festival.
And most of the people sell records and CDs. They're record labels or they're record dealers or people that have stores. But for some reason, I was given a table in the record selling area, which was uncommon for somebody selling crafts, which is essentially I was just selling paintings.
And he happened to be, if not in the same row, very nearby.
It was extremely hot. It was like 103 degrees, like relentless sun. And I was seated next to Sarah Moody and Lacey Swain. And I believe Joan Hiller was there. And, you know, I was first in awe because I love Sub Pop. And
Derek was an eccentric, welcoming Chicagoan.
So, I probably put on my best face, but...
And became very quick friends with myself, Joan LeMay and Lacey Swain.
And I was pretty nervous to be hanging out with them because I thought they were, so cool. But they were all friendly, and we talked about so many things. And at the end of it...
said, hey, you all should have a free painting. Here you go. And I still have mine.
What does it look like?
It's a small circular piece of wood that is yellow and has a cat on it.
We'd exchanged contact info, and Lacey sent me a copy of the Dead Moon documentary, and I kept in touch with all of them, and I'm really great friends with all three of them. They've remained very constant friends since then. But I always wanted the job of receptionist. It was, it's always been kind of like a storied position. And I would come in to visit or I'd fill in with Rosie, and it just felt perfect to me. So when it was decided that she was leaving, I think to pursue something in the restaurant business, I jumped all over it. I will tell him that you called, and I apologize that he hasn't gotten back to you, and he will be reprimanded. I'll be sure that happens.
Maybe just mention him because I'm sure maybe.
I mean, I'm going to do more than mention it. I'm going to actually suggest that he gets fired. That we relieve him of his position.
Oh no, I don't want him to get fired, really.
Well, I mean, this isn't the first problem that we've had with Mr. Jacobs, so...
Oh no, please don't. I don't want to be reason for firing because I don't know. Maybe
you wouldn't be the reason exactly. I mean,
who? Because maybe I need to ask my husband. Maybe he reply my husband. So please don't, because my husband is out of town.
Oh.
So let's see if we find out. Maybe he replies to my husband.
His job at Sub Pop, as far as I can tell, aside from lead doer of Antics, is...
I think of him kind of as the office manager. He makes sure everything is fixed, that we have all the supplies we need, all the tea, that everyone's just happy.
He's usually friendly to people.
He takes care of 65 people every day. That's a lot to do.
Cob Nobbler, something like that.
And what's his job here?
I think he's like the office manager, personally, because he has to deal with so much of our crap.
Derek's the glue that binds Sub Pop. I mean, he's like part receptionist, part everyone's big brother, part prankster in chief. He takes care of everyone exceptionally well, better than anyone I've ever worked with in a similar role. He really does care, but he just does it in his own way.
I had already worked here, so I felt like I kind of had a shoe-in, why not just let me have it? But they have a process of hiring. They have to interview a bunch of people. So I did put my resume in, and I sent a cover letter, and I made I contacted everybody I knew in the music business to give me a quote about me, kind of like a mini reference, but dozens of them, even one from my mom.
Kind of like you'd see on a movie cover or the back of a book?
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And so they were kind of charmed by that. There's a real fine line between being obnoxious and going out of your way to do something to stand out.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of right there in the middle. It wasn't something it wasn't radical. It wasn't a loud song or I did some kind of one-act play to get the job. It was here's a bunch of... and then Chris Jacobs was very impressed that Gerard Cosloy from Matador was on there.
He gets people the pens that they want.
one year he did an egg hunt for us.
Like an Easter egg hunt?
Yeah.
He's very helpful and thoughtful and curmudgeonly.
In many ways, he's like, I feel like he is the face of Sub Pop to the outside world that's not our industry contacts. I mean, he is the first person that when people come here trying to be closer to Kurt Cobain, because that happens all the time, or to try to, give us a demo, he's the first person to like pick up the phone to answer any demo questions. He's the first person to give tours to tourists that come to Seattle thinking that we make records here and realizing that we don't actually, we market the records here. I mean, he really is just a super patient person that is always, like, no matter how long a person's here, even if they're dropping off a demo, it's like, can I get you some coffee? Can I get you some tea? Like, I've never met anyone who's so patient.
What do you mean when you say you were obsessed with Sub Pop in high school?
Well, I loved punk rock as a kid, and when I was in high school in the early 90s, that was kind of the modern punk rock. It was more of what was happening. Sub Pop, Nirvana, of course, and Tad, and Mudhoney, that was the contemporary stuff. I was a huge fan of the stuff that was going on in the past, mostly SST and Touch and Go, those two labels. But here was a new label that had a similar ethos, but was happening at that moment. So I made I made my way to those shows in Cleveland because they were happening at the time. I couldn't go see Husker Du anymore. I couldn't go see Black Flag anymore, and those were the things that happened that I was too young for. That happened before my time. But here are these bands coming through, the Afghan Wigs playing in Cleveland, so I was able to go to those shows, and it was kind of cool that here as a record label, they modeled themselves after something like Motown that made the label also part of the story as opposed to the bands, and that made it all, easy to know about, easy to love, but also they had such a great self-deprecating sense of humor and such a good story that it was easy to buy those records. You knew what they were, you kind of knew what they were going to sound like. I think they did that on purpose. They were so smart when they started this label and the idea behind it. They wasn't just fly by the seat of the pants. It seemed like they had a very clear vision, which is why I think when you interact with Jonathan Poneman on a day-to-day basis, you stop sometimes and remember that you're dealing with somebody who, changed the face of culture in a way,
Absolutely. If you were to describe Derek to someone who had never had the pleasure of meeting him, how would you describe him?
Brilliant, diligent, funny, honorable, subversive, brilliant, loving, subversive, brilliant. You get the idea.
I do. So a lot of people have had that job that Derek has currently, the front desk position at Sub Pop over the years. Megan, Jasper, Alyssa Atkins, Lacey, Kim Warnick, like tons of different people. What has he done to change the way that position is part of the fabric of Sub Pop?
He's brought a dignity to it, a historical weight, his own brand of reverence and irreverence, and he's given it the full benefit of his personality. And he has truly not just transformed the position, but is in many ways led to a transformation within the company in a very subtle way. I think that he has a way that about him that is infectious, and it's hard to describe, but I've seen him
like elevate a room many times, and it's hard to isolate exactly what it is, and I think in some ways by doing so you're not demeaning it, but you're not giving it enough. You're not acknowledging the certain grace that comes with this thing that he has.
Hello? Hello, Igor. Yeah? This is Rapmaster Maurice. I've heard that you've been a little tardy in your schoolwork lately, so since I can't give you a detention, I'm gonna give you a rap. Well, my name's Maurice, and I called to say that you've been slacking on your job in a major way. I hear you're a professor, and man, that's cool, because everyone knows you got to stay in school. But your student wrote a paper. His name is Jim, and you ain't even read it. You've been neglecting him. Give him some feedback on his work, or I'll think you got a degree in jerk. So give Kaz Ruby and Andy a rest and read Jim's thesis, because it's the best. It's on pseudo-socialist poetic quasi-realism. Peace!
Oh my God.
I could do it again if you'd like.
Holy shit. I'm speechless. I'm just blown away. I would, is there a way I can request a recording of this phone conversation?
It'll be on my website.
Okay, good. I'll go find it on your website. Thank you very much.
You go ahead and Google search Rapmaster Maurice.
Hi, this is Marianne Spellman. These are 10 reasons I love Derek Erdman. Number 1, his art is filled with sly humor, vibrant color, and is affordable and adorable. 2, his art veers into performance as Seattle's finest prankster and diabolical mixer, doing semi-outrageous and weird things that rile half the people up and make the other half laugh convulsively.
What else have we done together? Oh, one time Derek had me and Marianne impersonate him at his own art event. So we both dressed up as Derek. This video still exists of us making out in a hail of Haribo bears, and it's the Derek Erdman sex tape.
There's a video of him successfully throwing an ice cube into the vent of a porta potty from the 3rd story window.
So there's a 7-Eleven across from our building, and there's big signs that advertise their pizza, and he is known to take them and tape them to the front of our door, so when we try to leave our apartment, there's just like a 5-foot-tall pizza sign.
So he barricades you into your own apartment?
Yes.
I can't even handle how much I love that kid. I just have to tell you this right now. It kills me that he's leaving Sub Pop, and I'm happy for him because I really just want him to do all of the things that make him happy in life. But this is one of those moments where it's very hard for me not to be purely selfish and just say, I fucking want Derek Erdman more in all of our lives. I can't handle the thought of him leaving.
So what is it about him leaving that is so hard?
Derek Erdman is one of those people where your head can be in a million different places, from dark to crazy bright, and he all of a sudden seems like there's a grounding force. Derek is someone who can lift you when you're down, or he can kind of like pull you down when you're flying too high and bring you back to a place of sanity, which is totally bizarre because sane is not a word I would use to describe him.
Working with a boss like Megan, who I truly feel is my big sister, pretty much has ruined me, I think, for any other serious job in my future, because there's no way that you can think or operate that way in regular society. You know, I'm encouraged here to like keep track of who eats what kind of candy and, you know, pull pranks if necessary. But if you do that kind of thing in a regular office job, I'm sure it's going to get frowned upon. And, you know, Jonathan, I think, created a place where you you can make it whatever you want. And I think some people are kind of afraid of that because it is a workplace, and you think you have to carry yourself in some way, but it's hard to get in trouble here. You know what I mean? If you do something shitty, obviously shitty, but when it comes to different ways of thinking or different ways of acting, it's encouraged. It's okay.
So what do you want to say as part of his send-off?
I want to tell him to fuck right off. Good fucking luck, bitch. That's what you get for fucking leaving. No. I'm kidding.
Well, I forgot to talk about one of my favorite things that he does in the office that may have been mentioned already is the topless drive-bys. Like when there's a meeting going on in the conference room, he'll just take his shirt off and then walk by the glass door. Like kind of no matter who's in there.
Seriously?
Yes.
I did not know anything about this.
I know. He's done it like numerous times.
A topless drive-by.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene a little bit. We're sitting in the conference room with like a new A&R prospect having a meeting. And then all of a sudden, Derek just walks by top off?
Yeah. And like doesn't even look in, like deadpans it.
The burger bombs is another one.
What is that?
You don't know about burger bombs?
No.
Burger bombs would be you would pay Derek to buy a fast food burger and ship it to your enemy of choice so that by the time it arrived, it would be pretty gross and they wouldn't know what it was. And they would open it up and it would be a disgusting burger bomb.
So he's leaving.
Yeah.
And this episode, whatever it is that I'm making here, is kind of like a long yearbook entry.
Yeah.
So what would you want to say to Derek knowing that he's moving away?
I'm going to miss Derek. But Derek does what Derek wants, so Derek should do that. And Derek's always going to be here. I mean, he's everywhere. Like his art's everywhere. His antics and his memories will be everywhere. And he'll be here. But yeah, I'm going to miss him. Big shoes to fill.
Well, Lacey Swain is the person that I moved here for because we're so close.
What do you mean you moved here for her?
I was going to move to Austin, and Lacey and her then husband Ruben were kind of the people who sort of made the bid for me to move here instead.
I was so excited for him to come to Seattle because I felt like there was, just this overwhelming seriousness here. Like everything was kind of serious, and he's so not serious.
And so I really can't go without saying anything about my time in Seattle without mentioning Lacey being like my constant, like definitely, like I mentioned, Megan Jasper is like a sister. Lacey is more like a twin.
He for sure seems to me, I'm like, we have to be related, I think. More than anyone I've ever met, I was like, that's me with a dick, Like, really. He's the best. Like, where we do differ is in that the things that are funny and ridiculous and absurd, to me, a lot of times end up just weighing me the fuck down, where I'm like, and I can't get out of bed today, But he takes everything around him, good and bad, and just tries to make it all good.
Same age, same background, same cultural references, same way of speaking. And I don't consider her to be a friend that I met here. She's one of the people that I knew beforehand. So like when it comes to very close family type people, Lacey Swain is one of those. And I haven't even thought yet what it's going to be like to not know her all the time, regularly. It'll be sad.
The thing about Derek is just, it's in these small moments. It's in these, like, how Derek deals with, like, just what is in front of him right now, Like, you'll have a good time just because he'll point out some ridiculousness around you and it becomes awesome.
But I mean, I would say everybody. I can't really specify anybody because I have, I love everybody for so many reasons. And you, in the front desk position, you talk to everybody. You're not just working within a certain department and only talk to 2 people. You see everybody in the morning on their way in. You see them on their way out. You order them whatever they want. If they have a problem, they come to you. I've also become kind of like the social hub, or like when people want to gossip or people have a problem. I have so many people that come up and cry sometimes. I've learned also each person who does that, what they need. Like if they need for me to sit by them and make them tea and like be near them, or if they just need to sit there and be alone, but to know that I know they're there. Because everybody has when they need to be comforted in that way, like what they are comfortable with and what helps them.
I'll miss you, Derek Erdman.
What are you going to miss about Sub Pop?
I'll miss the people that I work with, the people that I'm close with. I mean, I think over the years I've annoyed the shit out of a lot of people, and so I think a lot of people kind of take me at arm's length. But the people who have embraced me and have made my job here, like a true joy. Never have I come here dreading it. Never have I ever felt like a receptionist. Like no one's ever said oh, you're just the receptionist. No one's ever treated me anyway like that. And I was almost a little worried about that. And I have to say, in the past, when I've met people outside of the office and I've told them that I work for Sub Pop, and when they ask what I do, they either think I'm joking or they sort of look down on me oh, you're just the receptionist. Because it is a job that sounds entry level, or it's for children or something like that.
Sure, but if anyone knows anything about the history of the company.
True, yeah, it is sometimes considered the face, or that person's personality rubs off on the way the company is seen, and for good reason, because you're the person mostly interacting with the general public.
Yeah, and you can go from being receptionist to second in command.
Yeah, Megan Jasper, CEO.
Sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in work and then forget that we're all humans. And I think that that's the most important aspect of Derek.
He keeps us human?
He keeps us human. He keeps us reminded that at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reasons, because we love music.
What do you think of Derek's antics?
When you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is that I think his antics go too far sometimes.
Really?
I don't really like it if he's throwing pizza out the 3rd floor office windows.
So what don't you like about Derek throwing pizza out of a 3rd-story window?
It seems irresponsible and just not something that should be happening in the workplace or in any place.
He would make a seagull sound to call them, and then he would throw giant slices of pizza out, hoping that they would catch them in flight.
I've never met anyone who is more themselves. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. He just wants to be Derek. He's not trying to be anyone else ever. And I think that's kind of a rare thing, especially in music, especially a record company. He's only ever himself. And I think people warm to that. Because Derek is Derek.
On my birthday this year, he also painted Happy Birthday in 10 foot by 20 foot down on the street below my apartment. And he's
Can you show me through the window where it was?
Not there anymore, yeah. But there's some. So it's right kind of down where those cars are by Little Uncle.
So when you look down, you
He
can
just
see.
texted, he was like, "Hey, look out your window," and I looked down and it just massive Happy Birthday on the street painted, and I think it was there for probably 2 months or so.
One important feature of Derek's personality is that he's actually really honest and vulnerable and sincere. And I think that a lot of people think that he's faking it because that's so rare. You don't meet people with no facade. Ever. And I don't think he has one, and I think that for some reason people think that he does. I mean, he's certainly a smart and calculating artist, but I think he's completely real all the time, and that's what I like about him. I don't think he ever fakes anything. And I think that he has a fascinating, I think one of the ways that we connect is that a lot of really fucked up things have happened to both of us, and we have both used humor just to survive. People sometimes don't trust you when you're funny. They think you're up to something. But he and I both just, we have to live that way to get by. There's that Hemingway quote, "A man's got to take a lot of punishment to write a really funny book." And I see so much humor in his paintings, but also a lot of pain.
Hello, this is Marianne Carter, and I just wanted to say a few words about Derek Erdman. I love Derek Erdman. I love his work, not only as a visual artist, but as a merry prankster, and I think his finest work is when he combines the two. One of my fondest memories of this was when he created a poster of David Bowie's drug phases that he plastered all over the city of Seattle for David Bowie's 69th birthday, which, as we're all familiar with, was probably an inopportune time to troll David Bowie, because David Bowie in turn trolled Derek and the rest of the world by dying. But the joke continued when I collected a few of the posters and hung them in my apartment. And late one evening, during a party, I mentioned that it was Derek's work because I collect a lot of his work, and it was hanging among his original paintings. And I got in an argument with a guest who didn't believe that it was Derek. And so I noticed that there was a phone number to call at the bottom if you were interested in getting hooked on drugs like David Bowie. And so I texted that number, and it came back that it wasn't, that text messages couldn't be received, which meant it wasn't Derek because I had his number saved. So I gave it a call, and it was the Seattle Police Department, who actually graciously took my call, and I asked for David Bowie, and they said he wasn't there, but that I was not the only person who had called looking for him.
My name's Beavis Murphy. I've known him for a couple of years.
And if you had to describe him to someone who had never met him before, how would you describe him?
I don't think I could describe him.
Seattle is like, Seattle's not going to know what to do without him. I think people like Derek are what make Seattle so special, and I'm really going to miss Derek.
So wait, Derek was offering people $20
Yeah.
if they would let him shave their head?
Yeah, it was an art show at this skate shop. But yeah, he was giving out hot dogs and $20 to get your head shaved.
Did you see anyone get their head shaved?
Yes. And a woman got her head shaved, and she actually got quite a bit of hair chopped off. And Derek did a really good job.
Anything else about Derek?
Oh, man. I wish he'd change his fucking underwear. If he could make anything better, he needs to change his underwear. As wonderful as he is, he fucking smells. Fix it.
Hello. My name is Emily, and I was married to Derek Erdman for 5 years. I know a lot about Derek, but I guess in the interest of time, I'll just share this one thing that I think that maybe not many people know about him, and that is that he is just a huge, huge Jimmy Buffett fan. They're called parrot heads, is what his fans are called. Derek definitely gets the monthly newsletter, which is called the Coconut Telegraph. So he's always up on what Jimmy Buffett's doing. So yeah, I guess if you see Derek around, you should ask him to break down the lyrics to Margaritaville, specifically the line about flip-flops. I think he'd really like that. So yeah, thanks.
This is Keith Whiteman saying that Derek Erdman is #1 Seattle's leader in throwing half-eaten fruit out of a living room window. Thank you.
The thing about Derek is, like, pretty much like anything you do with him is going to be fun and like pretty weird. Might like slightly be illegal.
It was just really important to me knowing that that consciousness was somewhere in town wherever I was. So, like, every time a piece of the sort of ecosystem of art goes away like that, I worry.
10. I love Derek because when he moves away from Seattle, He'll leave a hole a mile wide, and you have to be a pretty damn amazing person to do that.
I wish he weren't going, and I hope he has good times where he's going. He's actually exactly 1.5 years younger than I am.
So if you feel compelled to request a burger bomb for delivery and or the return of Rapmaster Maurice, I highly suggest that you call or text Derek Erdman at 773-595-9708.
How can they not like his antics? Who doesn't like his antics? What
Well,
info
like,
have you got?
There's someone who I interviewed who works here who got very upset that he used to throw pizza to the seagulls out the window. There is one of the people who lived in the apartment building where Singles was shot was very upset that he invited essentially 5,000 people to watch Singles in the courtyard of that apartment building, which is like 12 by 12 feet wide.
That's amazing, though. How can you be annoyed at that? That's like, how can if you don't like his antics, then that's just jealousy.
Jealousy.
Yeah,
That's
people.
what you think it is?
I think it's jealousy. That's like if you don't find you're just annoyed you didn't think of that, because that's brilliant.
Why are you leaving?
Oh, I miss Chicago. I'm from the Midwest. I'm Midwestern. Those are my people. And also the winter is brutal. It's not for everybody, and I shut down. I go into a cocoon mode that I don't even realize it. You lull into it in September, October, and then the next thing you know, it's April, and you're like, what has happened? Like, I don't know what has happened the last 3 months.
So people are going to hear that you're moving to Chicago.
It's different. Chicago might be freezing, but at least there's sun. You can still tell that a day has happened. It's also, closer to the equator in the way that the sun doesn't set at 4 p.m. and doesn't rise at 10 a.m. And there's a trade-off, of course, that the summers aren't as manic. They are extremely hot there, but it is a standard amount of daylight. But that's the thing about Seattle is that the summers are so incredible that right now it makes no sense for me to move. I'm like, why am I leaving? Don't get me wrong, the past month I'm like, what am I doing? I have the perfect job. I have the perfect apartment. I'm going to move to a place that I haven't been to in a while. I'm going back, like, is that a failure? Am I going back, like, is it going to be a mistake and I'm going to get there and the grass is always greener all the time? But I will then remember November. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've written a page at home when I feel this way that I look back and think that, like, the sun is out 6 hours a day. It's constant drizzle. I feel like I've had moments where I've been like, what, should I jump off the bridge? Like, how do I kill myself? And then I think I'm not even suicidal. I just haven't seen the sun in 2 months.
That is, again, area code 773-595-9708.
Please text Derek. Anything else, Sarah Moody?
Derek's the best.
What would you like to say to Derek as he goes off on his next adventure?
Be sure to visit Ohio.
What do you think he'll be up to 20 years from now?
I mean, it sounds like he's getting pretty into juggling, and he loves to jog as well. So, but he was thinking that joggling might be something that he would like to get into.
Joggling.
And I could see him being like really, really good at that. And like maybe just being a pro joggler.
But he's amazing, and I wish him the best of luck in everything, and I know he can do anything, and I hope he becomes president one day. Wouldn't that be great? How good would this country be? Should be like, Putin, is your refrigerator running?
I and we love Derek, and I hope that he is never a stranger.
I would want to thank Derek for everything that he has done for me and for everyone else in this fucking company. That guy has given so much of himself, and he does it and asks for nothing, like it makes him feel good when other people feel good, and you don't come across people like that every day. He's the best.
I certainly can't impart any words of wisdom. I don't think it's necessary. I think everybody here is perfectly well adjusted. And this company was awe-inspiring when I got here. It will remain awe-inspiring. I don't feel like I've made any major changes in it. It will continue to be great. I will view it from, again, grass is always greener, jealousy and coveting. So really, I have to say, I've met so many great people. I've had so many good experiences. I've had so many people send me gifts because of it, or, gifts to the company. And I think it was just lucky for me to find this place at the time of my life when I did, that it really, it was perfect for me.
And it was always like, Derek Erdman this, Derek Erdman that. I got tired of it, honestly.
You did?
Yeah.
So that's it. Derek is leaving, and you can find out more about Derek and some of these antics and some of these raps and links to his incredible fucking artwork at our website, subpop.fm. Another quick note, I am also leaving Sub Pop, and it has been incredible to work here. And Alyssa decided that she wanted to ask me some questions. So if you want to hear a little exit interview with me, keep listening. If not, that's fine. That makes sense to me. But I'll miss you guys, and I am going down to work in Los Angeles at the NPR affiliate down there, KPCC, heading up their podcast department. So you can follow me on Twitter. I think, just Arwen N on Twitter. I think if you just look up Arwen Nicks, you'll find me. But anyway, here is my exit interview with Alyssa, and there will also be more episodes from me after this. I've made kind of a cachet of episodes to keep the season going for a little while longer, and then what will happen to the Sub Pop podcast is kind of TBD. You guys are really great. Thanks for listening.
So do you even remember not working here, what you thought it was like here?
Yeah, I thought everyone here was too cool.
The Sub Pop or the Seattle Freeze kind of too cool?
No, not mean, but just cooler than I would ever be.
How has that impression changed now that you've been fully embedded in the Sub Pop world for 2 years?
You guys are not too cool. I mean,
very true. Totally fair.
I can honestly say, though, that of all the offices I've worked in, I've never been able to say that I genuinely would be happy to run into anyone that I work with. I've never worked with people who I would hide from if I saw them out in public. But I also, you know how there's that difference of if you're walking down the street and you see someone you know, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that person.
Right.
Or you think, oh, I know that person.
Right.
And it's the latter with the people that work here at Sub Pop. I mean, there are still moments in the over a year that I've been here that I still get kind of intimidated when I'll just be sitting in the kitchen and Megan and JP walk in and they're just chatting, and then Derek Erdman walks in and Lacey walks in with Chewy at her feet. It's just I don't know, there's something pretty magical about the place.
What's a lasting impression, do you think, now that you have both?
My honest takeaway from working here is that I think that Jonathan has set this place up in a way where it's kind of both brilliant and really confusing. Because whatever your job is, you have the opportunity and the trust and the leeway from the Sub Pop brass to make that job what it needs to be. Figure out a place, go for it. They're completely open to creativity and a new approach, and they like being pushed. But at the same time, you just got to go do it.
Like, you don't necessarily have the infrastructure to be like, okay, I'm going to do this project, so here are all the things I need.
Right.
Like, no, just go do it.
And figure it out
and
as you go.
figure it out as you go. So I think there's a certain personality that can work really, really well in that circumstance. And I think that the Sub Pop podcast is something that I love making, and I love working with you, but it's weird to make something for a record label that isn't a record, that's respected and well received and appreciated, but is still essentially an accessory of the label.
Right.
It's not the prime directive,
right,
by any means. And to have this huge part of my life be an accessory project, not a vanity project, but an accessory project, has been hard.
Like, how so?
I don't know, because I guess I never felt like I was completely part of the company. Like, and not because anyone's treated me that way, not because anyone's been anything other than welcoming and kind, but because I'm not supporting
the main objective. What do you think people need to know going into, let's make a podcast? Like, don't you feel like you hear people say, we should make a podcast?
Yeah, I get asked about it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think of making a podcast like forming a band. Absolutely anyone can be in a band. Nothing is stopping you. That doesn't mean your band is good.
Right.
And even if your band is the best, that doesn't mean shit either.
Right. That doesn't mean anyone's going to listen to it.
No.
Right.
So, I mean, there is a mix of talent, a luck of the draw, a dedication, and a practice that has to go into it. And if you can't commit yourself to doing that, like, what does that say about what you think about the person listening? That they don't deserve that time.
Right.
So yeah, anyone can make a podcast, just like anyone can be an astronaut.
You think that's true?
Yeah. They're both equally true.
What are some of your favorite little gems from working on the podcast that we put out?
I've actually interviewed JP a lot for some material that I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but that experience of being able to spend time with him means so much to me. Like, Jonathan is an incredible human being, and I will definitely, whatever teams I run from here on out in my career, I will run differently because of his influence.
Why do you think?
He's so kind. He's so kind and generous, and he assumes the highest level of intelligence for people in a way that makes you want to be as good as he sees you as.
Oh, that's so nice. I like that.
And like, that's how I want to be. And being treated that way by someone who's the head of the company you work for is something that I have held with me every day I've worked here. So now everyone knows that I'm leaving. And I'm gonna
silence.
And I'm going to miss you terribly.
Me too, you.
What happens to the podcast?
I don't know. I remember you saying something to me like, I will match you work for work. Like, whatever you put in, I will match it. And that is so motivating for someone like me, because I want to work hard. And especially if I know like that there's an end goal there, I'll do it. And like, I'd never had anyone like be willing to work outside, like extra hours outside of their own job to help me like figure something out before. So I knew that was like a rare, really awesome opportunity. And I liked you so much that it was easy to say yes to that too. So yeah, figuring that out and then really like building it so, and with Stuart's help, shaping it, because I can definitely get the like big balloon ideas that need to come back down to earth of like, okay, how are you going to do that though? Like, I don't know. It's like right now that just feels so much a part of what we do together that I can't really imagine doing that with anyone else. But I also think it's such a like beautiful, great, huge potential project. And like, of course, I want you to take this job that you got because it's amazing and perfect for you. And like, what a great opportunity. But I'm also like, a catch in my throat where I'm like, I feel like we're just getting our stride, like in the third season, where it's like, there's so much potential there of what that can be too. So I guess at this point, I'm like, I don't know, and I don't know is a good enough answer. Like as far as like for my own head, because that leaves the door open for, you know, new possibility, and it also makes it okay if this is just where we're at right now. Because I think that we did really great work, and there's really, really cool stuff to be proud of for you and for Sub Pop and for us and for me and all of it. It's like, okay, that is great too.
Maybe it's like, maybe the trajectory of the Sub Pop podcast is like the Die Hard series. And, you know, season 1 is great. Everyone agrees. Season 2,
no one disagrees. Right?
Season 2, people, some people love it. Some people disregard
Fell
it.
off.
But everyone is glad that it exists, because without it, you couldn't have gotten to Die Hard 3 or season 3, which is easily the best Die Hard in the series. And just full of great banter, and you don't know what's going to happen next.
Right.
And maybe it's better that we cut and run, because Die Hard 4 and 5 are terrible. You know?